UP Health Department issues a warning and an update on Trump's impeachment inquiry.
Maya Kurth takes a look at the forecast, and later Joseph Sigourney will be back with our sports. Hi, I'm Devontae Stein.
And I'm Joseph Sigourney, and welcome to Public Eye News. As the next step in maintaining institutional accreditation through the Higher Learning Commission, members of the NMU community will be asked over the current academic year to provide input and evidence demonstrating that Northern continues to meet accreditation standards. NMU will compile the information to submit an assurance argument demonstrating its excellence to the HLC and peer reviewers from other institutions in October 2020. The U.S. Marine Corps kicks off its annual Toys for Tots drive on Saturday. The 8 of Michigan Region 17 will be hosting a fall fun day in the UP State Fairgrounds on October 5th from 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. alongside the Steam and Gas Association and other local entities. There will be a bounce house, games, and all sorts of trucks on display, even free pumpkins for kids while supplies last. Marine Corps officers will be at the gates of the fairgrounds taking donations.
The Michigan Department of Environment, Great Lakes, and Energy has found in recent testing the presence of hazardous materials around the Julio scrapyards. The testing showed the presence of heavy metals such as lead and mercury along with traces of asbestos. Kate Beer, a health officer with the Western UP Health Department, stated, quote, "The primary concern is the asbestos, and that was one of the prime reasons for issuing the advisory. With the asbestos that's on the ORV trails, it becomes agitated as people drive, and it comes up in the soil, gets released into the dust, and it can get into the lungs," end quote. Asbestos as well as mercury can lead and can cause health issues in humans after exposure. It has been reported that there have no cases of sort have been reported. Michigan residents will need to present a real ID compliant document to fly within the country and enter certain federal facilities. Mark Howell, TSA regional spokesperson, stated, quote, "The easiest way to determine if you have a real ID compliant license is to look at the upper right corner of the ID. If it has a gold or black star, you are good to go. The ID requires additional information and set security standards for the production so that they are much more difficult to create a fake ID," unquote. The safety and security of airline passengers is the top priority in the effort for real identification requirements.
The eastbound shoulder of US 41 was closed near Nagwani and Ishping Line Wednesday morning after a car went off the road and knocked down a utility pole around 4:25 in the morning at US 41 near Malton Road. Police say a 48-year-old Ishping woman apparently had a medical episode before her 2012 Chevrolet Impala veered off the highway and hit a power pole. The pole broke off and fell into the eastbound traffic lane of US 41. Police say the woman appeared physically uninjured after the crash, thanks in a part of using her seatbelt and airbag deployment. Michigan's ban on flavored electronic cigarettes is in effect after a state judge said she wasn't ready to decide whether to stop it. The owner of 906 Vapor in Houghton, Mark Sillis, argued his lawsuit against Governor Gretchen Whitmer's ban on Tuesday in an Emmett County courtroom. Sillis said that flavored vaping products were the only thing that helped him quit smoking after 30 years. He said that flavored products taste better, sell better, and can help more people. Court of Claims Judge Cynthia Steffens denied Sillis' request, and the ban took effect at midnight. The hearing will continue October 8th, and Governor Whitmer accuses e-cigarette makers of using candy flavors and deceptive ads to hook on to children. And right after the break, we'll be back with national and international news.
This is the closest we'll get to an alien on Earth. Octopuses couldn't be more different from us, but is a connection possible?
You look at them and you feel like they're looking back. That's not an illusion. They are looking back.
One man will find out. He'll bring an octopus into his home and introduce her to the family.
Well, now she's filming me.
Hi, Heidi.
Tonight at 8 on WNMU TV.
Welcome back to Public Eye News. The tech giant Google is releasing more tools for their users to control more of their privacy settings. YouTube users will now be able to set their search and viewing history to auto-delete after a certain amount of time. Google says people will now be able to delete their voice histories from AI system Assistant using a voice command. In addition, there will be a way for users to check their passwords using Password Manager. Google Maps will now have an incognito mode. This means one's movement will not be recorded while incognito is on. It will be available for Android later this month, but Google did not give a release date for iOS. Security Estate Mike Pompeo confirmed today that he was on the phone call at the center of the House impeachment inquiry. His comments come the same day the State Department's Inspector General scheduled an urgent meeting with congressional staff members where they will be shown some Ukraine-related documents. Nicole Killian reports from the White House, where President Trump lashed out at Democrats.
Secretary of State Mike Pompeo acknowledged he was on the July phone call between President Trump and the Ukrainian president.
As for was I on the phone call, I was on the phone call. It was about helping the Ukrainians to get graft out and corruption outside of their government.
Pompeo, who is in Italy, did not mention that during the call, the president asked the new Ukrainian president for help investigating Democratic rival Joe Biden and his son Hunter, something that came out through a whistleblower complaint. Pompeo said the State Department would cooperate with congressional investigations into the phone call, but he would not tolerate bullying or intimidation.
What we objected to was the demands that were put that deeply violate fundamental principles of separation of powers.
But Democrats say Pompeo is a fact witness in the impeachment inquiry, and he should stop intimidating other witnesses in order to protect himself and the president.
Any effort by the secretary, by the president, or anyone else to interfere with the Congress's ability to call before it relevant witnesses will be considered as evidence of obstruction.
President Trump tweeted Wednesday that the head of the House Intelligence Committee should resign and that impeachment is bad for the country.
He should be forced to resign from Congress. Adam Schiff, he's a lowlife. He should be forced to resign.
Sources tell CBS News a former State Department official and a former ambassador have agreed to testify, and the State Department's Inspector General is scheduled to give an urgent briefing to congressional staff members this afternoon about Ukraine-related documents. Nicole Killian, CBS News, the White House.
A state official says there have been 5 fatalities in the crash of a World War II-era bomber that had 13 people on board. A fire and rescue operation is underway where a World War II-era bomber plane crashed at Bradley International Port on Windsor-Loch-Con in Wednesday, October 2nd. The B-17 bomber crashed shortly after takeoff Wednesday morning from Bradley International Airport. Officials say the aircraft was 5 minutes into the flight when it reported it had a problem and it was not gaining altitude. It was attempting to land when it struck a maintenance shed at the airport. One person who was on the ground was injured in addition to the 5 people on board. 5 people on board were taken to the Hartford Hospital. The FAA said it was a civilian registered and not flown by the military. The State Department is calling on North Korea to, quote, refrain from provocations. That after North Korea fired a ballistic missile just hours after agreeing to resume stalled nuclear talks with the U.S. Tina Cross has more on the story from London.
South Korean officials confirm a ballistic missile was launched from the coast of Wonsan, east of the North Korean capital of Pyongyang. It flew for about 280 miles and reportedly landed in the Sea of Japan. Japan's prime minister quickly condemned the launch, and the defense minister said the missile landed inside Japan's exclusive economic zone. If confirmed, it would be the first North Korean missile that's landed that close to Japan since November 2017. U.S. officials tell CBS News this was a land-based test of a mid-range ballistic missile that can be launched from a submarine. It's a significant escalation from the short-range missiles North Korea has tested so far this year. Authorities are especially concerned about this type of weapon because it's much harder to detect in advance. President Trump has met twice with North Korean leader Kim Jong-un to discuss North Korea's denuclearization. But the second summit in February ended abruptly without any progress. Since then, the president has downplayed the significance of North Korea's short-range missile tests.
They are short-range missiles, and many people have those missiles.
For now, the White House says it's monitoring the situation and is consulting with U.S. allies in the region. There's no word on how this will affect Saturday's negotiations. Tina Kraus, CBS News, London.
And after this break, we'll be back with weather and sports.
would you do if plans to build a huge airport threatened to destroy your town and the environment for miles around?
What was at stake? The way of life of tens of thousands of people.
There was a map on the front page that showed that our house would be a control tower.
Follow the historic efforts of residents and officials who took on the power brokers in Saving the Great Swamp, battled to defeat the jetport.
Thursday night at 10 on WNMU TV.
I'm Maya Kurth with your weather forecast today. Currently, we're looking at the NMU sky cam. It's cloudy and classes are winding down for the day. Moving to our current conditions, it's going to be cloudy, 48 degrees, northeast winds at 18 miles per hour, and barometric pressure is 30.19 and rising. Looking to this evening, it's going to be raining, low 44 degrees, getting chilly, east winds at 10 to 15 miles per hour. Tomorrow, it's going to be cloudy, a high of 49, east-northeast winds at 14 to 26 miles per hour. Looking at the current temperatures in the UP on the eastern side, in Sault Ste. Marie, it's going to be 53 degrees and cloudy, 54 in Manistee, 54 in Escanaba, 51 in Menominee. Moving on to the western side of the state, we're going to have Iron Mountain at 48 degrees and cloudy, 47 in Ironwood, 48 in Houghton, and 48 back in Marquette as well. Looking ahead, we're going to have on Friday a high of 57, low of 43, and partly cloudy. Saturday a high of 55 and a low of 43, partly cloudy as well. And Sunday high of 56 and a low of 46, also partly cloudy. And just as the weather is going to be pretty stormy, I heard there were some dim outcomes for the Brewers last night.
Yeah, it was rather unfortunate. But to kick things off, the NMU hockey team is back on the ice next week and students are excited for it. Coming off a pretty decent season last year, the Cats are taking to the ice October 11th in the game against Michigan State at home. Last season, the Wildcats held a record of 21-16-2, and this year they are looking to take the WCHA, even though they lost some of their starting seniors, primarily Ati Tolvian and Troy Loggins. Students lined up to reserve their seats yesterday at the Berry, wanting the best seats they could for the avid hockey fans. The hockey season starts next Saturday. Northern Michigan University's women's soccer take a 2-1 victory over Purdue University Northwest in the team's last match before the conference play begins. Senior Jamie Montgomery gave the Wildcats a lead in the 67th minute, making it her third goal in the season. With 8 minutes left in the game, sophomore Caroline Hallowen scored a penalty kick, making it her first goal of the season and winning Northern the game. NMU goes into conference play with a 2-5 for the season against Fair State University this Friday. The Milwaukee Brewers lost 3-4 against the Washington Nationals in the National League wildcard game last night. The Brew Crew started off with a strong lead after Yasmani Grandal lined a 2-run homer to right field in the first inning. Eric Thames then slammed a solo home run in the second inning. Treya Turner put the Nationals on the board in the third, drilling a solo homer of his own to the left field off Brandon Woodruff. Josh Hader came into the 8th inning to close it out, but then found himself in hot water after loading up the bases. Juan Soto then lined a single to right field, and the ball skipped over lower than Trent Grisham anticipated, going behind him. The Nationals had a 1-run lead going into the 9th and managed to shut out the Brewers, leading to their victory. And that's all the time we have here at Public Eye News. I'm Joseph Sigourney.
And I'm Devontae Stein.
And from all of us here at Public Eye News, thank you for watching.
preceding program was produced in studios located in the Edgar L. Hardin Learning Resources Center by WNMU TV, Northern Michigan University Public Television.